line.
Here's the bottom line.
Here's the bottom line.
We need to get to the bottom of this.
Get to the bottom of this.
We've got to get to the bottom of this.
The bottom line on the Marc Cox Show.
That's the only way we're going to get to the bottom of
That's the bottom line.
Truth! You can't handle the truth.
Scott Jones, how are you, buddy?
I'm glad that I'm the resourceful person that I am because
What happened?
They weren't letting anybody in the parking lot
Why not?
because of the SEC tournament.
Oh, the tournament. They're probably charging $20 a car or something to get in here right now.
15.
15.
And they had it blocked. So when I was coming north on 18th.
Okay.
And so that side was blocked off, but the exit was not.
You should
so
just
when he wasn't looking, I just came on in and told the lady at the door, I said, I'm going to hang out with Marc Cox. And she let me in and told her I'll be back in 30 minutes, so don't get mad at me.
She told you that, and $5.50 will get you a coffee at Starbucks, right?
Hey, yeah. I'm here. I'm sure the guy was chasing me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it in, my friend. I forgot about that. Exciting, though. We got the SEC tournament in town.
It's actually pretty amazing. I think the fact that they chose to come to St. Louis and not maybe I guess it's closer to the SEC. I mean, I think it puts the city itself gets the blame for everything, but they never take into effect the metropolitan area is one of the greatest in the country. It's one of the safest in the country. If you take the little bitty hunk of 300,000 people that are in the city, that's like 10% of the area. And that's probably where a lot of the crime is. So we get a bad rap for the city, but they never talk about the metropolitan
Which is
area.
only bad news for the people who either live here or work here.
Well, but again, and this is like Chicago. It's only concentrated parts. I live in a wonderful neighborhood. Most people I know live in wonderful neighborhoods in the city.
I agree with you.
I mean, I know you're just being
You just don't ever what you don't ever want to happen is the the must live rule to be completely taken away from police and firefighters who live in a lot of these neighborhoods and keep them stable, quite frankly.
And you go back to whenever those rules were made. Those rules were made like in the 1940s and 50s, I think, when St. Louis City had 850,000 people. It was unheard of to live deep out in the suburbs, so it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
As everything shrunk and just going like to U City, that would be just going to another neighborhood in any other city. So because of the way St. Louis is put together, I'm not a fan of the must-live-in rules.
Do you watch our friend Elliot Davis over Channel 2 still these days?
I watch him all the time.
Elliot,
you know what's great? I read him now more than I watch him.
On Facebook. Did you see the post that was put up yesterday by Elliot Davis interviewing Kim Gardner on why she's hired outside prosecutors to prosecute the governor of the state of Missouri?
Nope.
Great piece. You should look at it.
I saw it. I did not get a chance to look at it.
Because he sits down with Kim Gardner and he asks her questions. Why did you need to go pay this guy $110,000 to come in here to prosecute the guy? Do you not have a big enough staff? And why are you wasting those resources on this case when you've got 80 or 90 unsolved murders sitting out there that you're ignoring?
I could jump through the screen to talk. One of the things that you and I talk about is felons allowed back on the street. I've read at least 3 stories this week about people that shot kids and did this and did that, but they couldn't come up with witnesses. They couldn't come up with that. So guess what? They're back, and the things that we say that are over our pay grade, I do not understand that.
Do you agree with the way the prosecution of Eric Greitens is being handled?
I don't know. I know what one of the things that I've really taken charge of with myself is to try harder not to really speak on things that I don't have a really good working knowledge of.
Okay.
What I know about the case is that, or what I think I know about the case is that he took some pictures. He allegedly used them for blackmail purposes. And if you think that that's worthy of kicking somebody out of the governor's office,
he's not charged with blackmail. He's charged with invasion of privacy, even though there's no victim and there's no picture. Prosecutor doesn't even have a picture.
Well, see,
but she got a grand jury to indict him 30 days before the statute of limitations ran out.
If you don't,
the whole thing reeks of politics. I wanted to talk to you about it. I figured you'd have an opinion on it.
Everything reeks of politics. So, again, I agree with that. I mean, that's what makes this world go around is reeking of politics. So, again, I thought they had much more solid evidence than that. I thought they had a picture, and I thought they had a cooperating witness. I wouldn't think that they would go through all this without thinking you could put the guy in jail or do whatever you got to do to somebody like that.
Well, you know, there's a great article in the Federalist today, and my thanks to one of our listeners who pointed this out to me, where the guy goes back to that. Remember that Duke lacrosse case a few years ago, where those kids were wrongly accused and their names were dragged through the mud and they were prosecuted and they all ended up beating the rap, but their reputations as young men were ruined. And that's exactly what's going to happen here.
Well,
when Channel 4 did this story, our former employer, Channel 4, did this story on Greitens. Nobody else touched it for a year and a half till Channel 4 finally did the story. And the headline in every newspaper in America was that these ridiculous and unproven allegations against the governor that he, bound this woman and took pictures of her and blackmailed her, and there's no evidence of any of that so far. His reputation has been tarnished beyond repair.
Well, we can go even farther than that. When there's been, I hate going back into the, 19th century, but there have been there's ungodly number of cases where people have been falsely accused of sexual crimes or even the suggestion of sexual crimes. If we all know who Emmett Till was.
Sure.
Well, but that's the ultimate, So again, but that's the ultimate in that kind of situation. Going forward, again, people make those accusations. You can do it. I think it's ridiculous. Teachers all the time. You can be a teacher and a 12th grader that's mad, or a 9th grader that's mad. You could go to the principal and say, he touched me, he did this, he did that. And guess what? That teacher's done. Just by an accusation.
I know.
So I think that I'm not a fan.
Let's talk about teachers for a moment. I'm not identifying anyone. I think you're dating somebody involved in education. And my point is that I've got relatives who are in education, who are teachers, who are in classrooms, and they would love to have the opportunity to carry a gun, can carry concealed in a classroom. You're laughing at me.
I think that is the most ridiculous thing ever presented. Because
why do you think that?
Because you know what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
This overstressed teacher, they're not going to use it on the intruder. They're going to duck under the table as soon as anything happens. So therefore, they won't need a gun. What they're going to do is end up getting stressed out and shooting a kid. A teacher in the high stress urban neighborhood who's scared of their little kids because they got gang members in there. I felt threatened. I had to shoot him because I could have a gun, so I could do it. That's where that's going to go. You got there are, I think I did the stat, 1 million schools, 15 million kids. Yeah, are school shootings a horrible thing? They're like plane crashes. They never happen, but when they do, it's horrible. But there's a whole lot more car wrecks. You don't worry about those. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. So where are you going? You want more gun control? What do you? Something needs to be done. I say the immediate answer is hardening the schools, having more good guys with guns in the schools.
Most schools have security officers. Most schools have good guys with guns.
Not most. I think that's an overstatement.
Let me rephrase that. Schools in most urban schools, city schools, have somebody. Now, if you have a rural school, if you have some school that you think, I'm pretty sure that Ladue has an officer in their schools every day. I'll be willing to bet that most of the Parkway schools have county officers in their schools every day. I know the Hazelwood schools do.
I interviewed the Rockwood superintendent the other day. They have resource officers assigned to the primary schools, and then they have a secondary school they're supposed to visit. But a lot of the schools don't necessarily have somebody in there. It's a staffing issue. If they're going to fix it, they got to come up with more money or agreements with local police. Like the superintendent out there, Eric Knost, put a picture on Facebook yesterday or the day before where he met with all of the area police chiefs that serve in the areas where the Rockwood schools are. I don't know what the nature of those conversations were. My guess was how do we get more officers into these schools?
Well, again, and I think that, crazy people go through a planning stage. From what I understand, this Florida shooter, he took his time. He knew when those kids were getting out, and he knew what door to go to. You could have the National Guard in there. If you're sitting there playing, you know where you can get them when they're all coming out at the same time. It doesn't matter how many teachers have guns. You're not going to stop that. But you got to have somebody that's not. Also, you got to have somebody that's going to go in there and handle their business that does have a gun.
I'm with you. I've got a child still in elementary school, and heaven forbid somebody ever got into that school with a gun. I want the adult who's going to be closest to her at that moment to be able to defend those children in that classroom.
Well, that's why
I'm not talking about a teacher going down the hallway and actively stalking down a shooter. I'm talking about behind a locked door in the event that they get through the door, you've got a way to fight back.
Okay, let's say you have a school with 3 floors. How many are you going to have in there?
It's going to depend.
You got somebody on the 3rd floor, and they're shooting on the 1st floor. Everybody's gone by the time the guy gets downstairs.
Is it good, but is it better to have no guns in a school or to have 3 or 4 at different places throughout the school where you can react?
The problem is, again, since it's kind of like uncharted waters, we kind of don't know where that could go, is I think you would have a teacher shooting a kid way before you'd have a teacher shooting an intruder. And that's another thing. If the people come in to get the shooter and they see a teacher with a gun, how are they going to know who is who? She going to wear a red hat? Oh, I'm a teacher. Don't shoot me. I've got a gun. I mean, it's such uncharted waters. These are the kind of situations where we want an answer so bad. We're trying to find something. Of course, it's logical. If I'm a teacher, I was thinking about this the other day. There was an old movie, Blackboard Jungle, in the 50s. And Glenn Ford was in the worst school in Brooklyn or the Bronx or something like that. And they beat him senseless. And that's what he kept talking about. And this is 1958. I need to bring a gun to school. And then guess what? One of the teachers said, well, check this out.
He had one?
He had one.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, again, I totally get it. But, again, when these things happen, I mean, how long ago was Sandy Hook when they shot babies?
4 years ago. 5 years ago.
I mean, we react so hugely to certain situations that because it's uncharted waters, when things seem so illogical, sometimes they do make sense.
But you agree that having more good guys with guns is better than having fewer. In that situation, having somebody in the school or 2 or 3 people in the school that had the ability to fight back, whether it's armed security guards, former military who get hired who are specifically trained for that.
Exactly. But again,
somebody.
It can't hurt. But again, these guys plan that. They know who's going to be in the school. And if they want to shoot up a school, they're going to know
My
how
argument
to get to
is that if they knew that going in, that it wasn't easy pickings, they wouldn't choose that target.
That guy knew that there was security. He knew there was. That's why
they're picking these schools for a reason.
He found that school had armed security people, but he knew what doors they were coming out at the 3 o'clock bell. When it opened up, he ran in there, did his thing, and got out. And he could have had 5 guys in there.
Yeah. Well, we'll agree to disagree on that. Scotty, I got to run, buddy.
We didn't even get to talk about the president. We'll do that next time.
I'm sorry. We'll do it next time.
That's okay. But I'll say this for sure. I could be in the middle of Brooklyn and shoot somebody and nobody would care.
All he said was he could fire a shot down the middle of the street and nobody would care.
He could shoot somebody, but that's okay. I hear you.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
All right, Scott, I got to run. 314-969-9797. We're going to talk to Tony Minetti, candidate for U.S. Senate, when we come back.